The Batman Arkham franchise is the best gaming franchise in history. I don't care what anybody says. I'm a stand on that take. However, I would also not be the smartest guy in the world if I didn't say that none of these games are perfect. I don't believe that there's such thing as a perfect game, but there are things about these games that you could build into one perfect game. So today's video, we are going to be building the perfect Batman Arkham game. Now, of course, some of these things are going to be relatively obvious, and some of these things are going to be pretty subjective. So let me know what you guys think down in the comments below, and without wasting too much of your time, let's get into this. To start it off with Batman Arkham Asylum, I think this one's one of those relatively obvious picks where I would go with the atmosphere. If I was going to build a perfect Batman Arkham game, yeah, the atmosphere for sure. Because the thing is, even now, like, Arkham Knight's atmosphere was also pretty good as well. I think you can do like an Arkham Knight style game in a way, with like the graphics and the world design in a way, but have the atmosphere of Arkham Asylum, right? And I don't think I need to go over how creepy that game was in certain sections. You know, I found the Killer Croc section to be very creepy. Or when you're just like running around the asylum and you get those random crazy people, whatever you want to call them, when you get the inmates there at the asylum just jumping on you, it is the creepiest thing in the world. But the thing is, the game for me at least doesn't start out super creepy and super like atmospheric or anything. Not until you get a bit later in the game, when the inmates are released. That is when the atmosphere really takes a shift, at least in my opinion. It takes that sort of shift and makes you feel a little bit uneasy. Like, I have to always be checking detective mode to make sure I'm not about to get jumped or something like that, because for me, getting jump scared is one of like the scariest things in the world. So for Arkham Asylum, I'd 100% have to probably go with this atmosphere. Now, for Arkham City, despite this being a lot of people's favorite game, there's probably not a lot of things that they could tell me that they would add to their perfect Arkham game. If you had to name one thing, what would it be? Because there are a few things you could name, but I'm going to make it one general term, and you guys can kind of interpret it however you'd like. But that's the well-roundedness of Batman Arkham City. And that just means like side missions, the size of the map to me is perfect, the districts, the thugs, the overall engaging story. Everything that Batman Arkham City had, I wouldn't say that there's anything in the game that I would consider to be like bad. The only thing I would probably cut back on a little bit is the Riddler trophies. I think 440 is a little bit much. But outside of that, like, the well-roundedness of this game is amazing. Like I said, there isn't really a lot that's bad. It's even got like Harley Quinn's Revenge as a playable DLC. It's got challenge packs. It's got everything you really need in a Batman Arkham game. And like, I don't want to go like too general with it and kind of go with something that maybe that's just too vague. Like, I want to be a little bit more specific with it. But I think well-roundedness is perfect because if you want to talk about the side missions in this game are absolutely phenomenal. You know, I love Mr. Freeze. I love the Hush side mission. I even like doing little things like the political prisoners because it's the little things that add up. It's kind of almost like a reminder that you're Batman, but you're not always just saving people from buildings that are blowing up. Sometimes you have to do small tasks and just save one person. Sometimes you're saving 1,000 people. And I kind of love that interpretation and that spin on it, right? The map size to me also was absolutely phenomenal in that game. I don't love the big Wonder Tower wall that's in the middle of it. That kind of does, I don't want to say ruin it for me a little bit, but it's not a lot of fun to try to glide around it. I think the actual size of the map, though, is absolutely perfect because I'm personally not someone that enjoys a super, super big map. Like, I don't enjoy playing, like, GTA or something like that. Like, I don't enjoy driving across that entire map. I don't find it to be a lot of fun. But also the districts on the map are very, very cool. I don't know if the other Arkham games did this. I don't know if Origins and Knight did that to this extent, where you had Joker's section, you had the Penguin section, and you had the Two-Face section. And you knew that depending on the section you were in, that the difficulty you were facing, because there are some that are harder than others, in my opinion. I find the Joker section to be harder actually to get through, as opposed to like the Two-Face section. Maybe that's just me. Maybe I'm the only one who noticed that, but I think that's a really cool addition that definitely needs to stay, and that kind of ties in with the thugs as well. But the story is also engaging. How often do you get a game where the side quests are amazing, the story is really good, the world design's beautiful, the gameplay's amazing, the combat, the stealth, the gadgets you have, everything ties into each other beautifully in that game, in my opinion. So that's why I had to go with the well-roundedness. It's kind of hard to pick just one specific thing. So I think if you could have a Batman Arkham game with that type of side quest, with that type of map size, the thugs and everything involved, I think that it would be a great game. Now, next up we have Batman Arkham Origins, and this one might be a bit of a controversial take. I want you guys, like I've said before, to bear with me here a little bit. But for Batman Arkham Origins, I think the story is the best way that you go. In my opinion, this is the best story in the Arkham franchise. Because you could argue Asylums is kind of basic. Not in a bad way, in a good way. Cities is good, but it kind of feels like a wild goose chase. It feels like the whole Joker plotline thing. Feels like a little bit of filler to kill time for the sake of Protocol 10. Again, it's not a bad story, but I think Origins is better. And Arkham Knight, I don't think anybody considers Arkham Knight's story to be better than Arkham Origins. And I think that that's the general consensus. Shadows does have a good story, but again, I don't think it's as good as Origins in my opinion. I just think it has the best story. I think it tells Joker's story phenomenally. And like, I know this sounds like a silly thing to say now, but in hindsight, it's relatively obvious that the Joker was always going to be in Batman Arkham Origins. Despite it not being advertised in the trailers, it was always going to be relatively obvious because it was not only the safe option, but because it was an origin story, they, of course, had to tell the origin story between not only Batman and Joker, but Joker and Harley Quinn as well. And I know people are going to say, that's not canon. Whatever, you're a nerd. But anyway, I think the story, like I said, fantastic. I love the whole assassins, the 8 assassins trying to come after you. I love the way that the Batman and Joker story was told, how they became almost like infatuated with each other. I love Batman's personal growth in that game as well, how he starts out as this angry playboy billionaire who doesn't want any friends, doesn't want any allies, and he learns to realize he needs a team, he needs people around him because it will get the people around him killed. Him trying to save everybody is going to be his own downfall in a way. And so I think that Origins has the best story. Again, that is also a take I will stand on. Now, I think we can all agree for Batman Arkham Knight. This one is relatively obvious. Again, same thing with Batman Arkham Asylum. But that's going to be the gameplay on this one. I think there's many things that Batman Arkham Knight just surpass the other games of in terms of gameplay. Just combat, stealth, traversal, like even the Batmobile. And I'm going to get into that in a second. And the enemy types as well. Batman Arkham Knight did the best job with adding in new enemy types that didn't make it so easy to like go around armed thug rooms and just silent takedown everybody. Like, no, like you actually had to think about it because some enemy types couldn't be taken down with silent takedown, specifically the big brute types. And I think that made it really fun. And also, there was also more ways to take out thugs than ever, which also makes it a lot more engaging and a lot more fun for people. The combat, like I said, was not, like, it was just phenomenal. It was just overhauled to the point where people were actually saying Batman was too overpowered, that it was almost too easy. But I would counteract that by saying that the enemy types in that game were also harder. So it's kind of a mixed bag sort of situation here, where Batman, yes, if Batman Arkham Knight's Batman was in Arkham City, he would be overpowered 100%, and I'd get behind that. But because you have new enemy types, it kind of balances it all out. It makes it a lot more engaging, right? And then you have the traversal as well. Not only do they have the grapple gun, they also have the ability for you to upgrade said grapple gun so you can launch yourself even further. The gliding in this game is done really, really well. And the Batmobile is also another form of traversal. Now, here's the thing with the Batmobile. A lot of people don't like it. Right? And I understand why. It does get crammed into certain main story missions that isn't necessary. And that's my only real gripe with it, is that sometimes I don't want to play with the Batmobile in main story missions. Once in a while is okay, but it feels like it gets forced in too much. I understand it from Rocksteady's perspective that they only had one game to make it work, so that's exactly what they were going to do and make it work. I kind of get it from that standpoint, and I don't mind it being in side quests like the Riddler one. That's completely fine to me. Like the ones where you have to like disable the bombs or whatever in the car, that stuff's fine or whatever. But because of the fact that side missions are optional, but in main story stuff, sure. But the actual gameplay of said Batmobile isn't bad. Like the Batmobile combat to me really isn't that bad. Again, it's just because you have to do it so much. If you didn't have to do as much of it, if you only had to do it once in a blue moon, let's say you did it 3 times, 4 times in the entire game, plus side missions, I don't think people would get as annoyed with it. But because it's in it so much, people kind of build up a resentment to it almost. But using the Batmobile, the gameplay of said Batmobile isn't that bad, at least not in my opinion. So I think that the overall gameplay of Arkham Knight would be a feature in my perfect Batman game. Now, lastly, we have Batman Arkham Shadows, and this game is really good. Now, I've only played it through it once. I haven't played it again since its release, but what I will say is, like, I can remember it like it's yesterday. The game was phenomenal. The story was really, really good. The gameplay for a VR game was really good as well. But I think if I had to pick one thing from Shadows, and this might sound a little bit like the rest of the game isn't good, it might sound a bit dismissive, but I don't think this is a bad thing at all. And that's the first person point of view. And the reason why I think the player should have the option to be playing in first person on the console games. So for instance, any of the Batman Arkham games on console, I think players should have the option to go into their settings and switch to first person point of view, because that would make you feel a lot more like Batman. And I think that was kind of the whole point of having a Batman Arkham game on the VR. The whole idea was, hey, you can literally feel like Batman. You put on your headset, you feel like you're in the world, you're immersed in it. You feel like Batman, something that a lot of people fantasize of doing. Some people really want to know what it's like to be like Batman. Well, now you can finally get a feel for it by playing in the first person. And I think allowing people to do that on consoles would absolutely make a great addition to the franchise. Now, in my opinion, that should also be an optional thing. I don't think you should be forced into first person, because some people aren't going to like it. Some people are going to think it's a little bit annoying or whatever. Some people like to look at Batman's outfit or whatever, the Batman corn. If you guys get the reference, you know. But I do think it should be an optional thing for the player to be able to play in the first person. I think that would make the experience extremely cool and a lot more immersive. But guys, this is me building my perfect Batman Arkham game. What things do you agree on? What things do you disagree on? What would you change? Let me know what you guys think down in the comments below. Thank you guys so much for watching. If you guys enjoyed, make sure to leave a thumbs up, make sure to subscribe, and I'll see you guys later. Peace!